If you study World War II long enough, you realize something uncomfortable. The official manuals only tell part of the story. The real survival knowledge, the things that kept soldiers alive when plans collapsed, was often passed quietly, unit to unit, or ordered suppressed outright. Not because it didn't work, but because it worked too well. Today, I want to walk you through 7 of those survival tricks, not as myths or romantic legends, but as practical systems tested under the harshest conditions imaginable. If you care about real history and real preparedness, this is the kind of knowledge that still matters. During the war, armies learned quickly that survival was less about heroics and more about systems. Men survived because they managed heat, scent, sound, calories and psychology better than the enemy. The first lesson came early and brutally. Visibility kills faster than bullets. Soldiers were taught to break outlines, but experienced troops went further by controlling unnatural movement. A human walking upright in a straight line is instantly recognizable, even at distance. Another closely guarded technique involved heat discipline. Infrared detection didn't exist as we know it today, but thermal awareness absolutely did. Soldiers learned that body heat lingers in sheltered areas long after you leave. In cold environments, troops were taught never to sleep directly against rock, trees or trench walls. Heat transfer created visible condensation and frostmelt patterns that enemy patrols could read like tracks. The workaround was insulation using dead air space. Soldiers layered pine boughs, fabric, or even empty ration tins beneath them to create separation. Today, this principle applies directly to cold weather survival. Never let your body heat soak into the ground. Insulation is not about comfort. It is about remaining unseen and conserving energy. Food was another area where official doctrine lagged behind reality. Rations were heavy, limited, and often unavailable. Veteran units learned to stretch calories by controlling digestion speed. One trick involved eating fats before sleep rather than carbohydrates. Fat digests slowly, producing sustained energy and warmth through the night, reducing shivering and calorie burn. Soldiers hoarded bacon grease, butter, and even machine oil-contaminated fats for this purpose, clarifying them when possible. In modern preparedness, this translates directly. High-fat foods at night can stabilize body temperature and reduce energy loss when shelter is minimal. Water procurement techniques were also quietly refined beyond manuals. Soldiers learned that surface water, even when filtered, often caused illness that weakened entire units. One field trick involved transpiration capture. By enclosing leafy branches in cloth or rubberized material and leaving them exposed to sunlight, moisture could be collected without touching contaminated sources. This was slower but far safer. In practice today, this technique is still viable using plastic bags or improvised sheeting. It produces small amounts, but small amounts consistently can keep you functional when rivers are unsafe. Sound discipline was another survival edge rarely written down. Soldiers were taught silence, but veterans understood silence alone wasn't enough. Absolute silence draws attention. Natural environments have constant noise. Troops learn to create controlled background sound, such as distant tapping, low wind movement in brush, or irregular fabric rustling to blend with ambient noise. This prevented the sudden nothingness that alerted enemy patrols. You can practice this by observing natural sound patterns and matching them rather than eliminating sound entirely. Psychological survival may be, honestly, the most powerful secret of all. Soldiers learned, often the hard way, that hopelessness killed faster than wounds ever could. Units that survived the longest, well, they maintained rituals, even if they seemed meaningless. Things like cleaning weapons that didn't really need cleaning, shaving in combat zones, or just repeating the same routines before movement. These things stabilized the mind. It wasn't discipline for appearance, not at all. It was discipline for sanity. In modern survival scenarios, routine actually anchors decision-making. Establishing small, repeatable tasks, prevents panic and cognitive collapse under stress. The final and, I'd say, most closely guarded trick involved timing. Experienced soldiers learned over time that danger comes in waves. Patrols, artillery and attacks, they all followed human rhythms. Dawn and dusk, for example, were deadly not because of the light, but because humans prefer transitions. Veterans avoided movement at predictable times and instead moved during those uncomfortable middle hours. Today, this same thinking applies to disaster scenarios and civil unrest. Avoid peak movement periods. Move when others hesitate. These techniques were not glamorous and certainly not heroic, but they were effective. They were whispered, demonstrated once, and never written down because, well, armies feared their enemies might learn them. Yet here we are, decades later, still benefiting from lessons paid for in blood. If this kind of history matters to you, if you value practical knowledge over sanitized stories, make sure you subscribe to The Prepper Historian. Share this with someone who understands that survival isn't about gear, it's about understanding systems. And if you want more deep, documented insights like this, stay with the channel. This knowledge, honestly, deserves to be remembered.